when you are so loaded down with life, you actually start believing that there's no way you can meet the demands made upon you. You lose your self-respect. And then what do you do to yourself? You do something stupid. You
Hmm.
do something stupid. You really do. Whether you realize it or not, you start criticizing yourself. You start eating and drinking and taking in substances that aren't good for you. Even if it's just a whole bunch of sugar, you start
Absolutely.
deadening yourself. And this is our nature, no matter what race we are, no matter what sex we are. It's our nature of human beings to need self-respect, to be healthy, and to make those around us healthy. And barter is a wonderful way to give people the beautiful gift of self-respect.
Absolutely. One of the very cool things is when you can, like I've recently lost a lot of weight. I was very unhappy. I was in hiding for more than 14 years, and stepping into, like everybody keeps telling me that I'm beautiful, and it's kind of like, okay, I didn't see that for a long time. But you do that. You hide. You hide with however you feel safe. And with me, it was an actual issue. But that's one of the things that we can do is, you can help people with, I've done a lot of counseling. I've done a lot of counseling. I have a lot of metaphysical friends that I work with. I know a lot of Native Americans who aren't recognized by the tribe. They're like me. They were one of the lost children. The tribe just claimed me. So as the lost children, they're even internalizing. I know some of them that are getting health issues, cancer and diabetes and everything else, because they can't be themselves. When you can fully embrace being who you are, and I just did it in the last few weeks, it is incredible. It's very empowering. But most people don't get there. They hide, or they listen to, sadly, parents saying, well, like in my case, the people that raised me, very abusive, I'd be really pretty if, I was always stupid. I was told I was stupid until 2002. So when you can really embrace that and be who you are, think of what you can do to empower your own children. When you can tell them how amazing they are and lift them up instead of pulling them down. When I was stranded at the airport the other day and people were staring at me, I had to stop and go, it's okay. It's okay. I'm safe. Because it made me very uncomfortable. And then when I mentioned the story to a friend of mine, they were like, well, maybe you had like a mark on your face or something. That's not quite what they said. But, instead of going, wow, yeah, because you're looking pretty good right now, instead they do the breaking down, because that's what we've been taught. It's very sad that we've been taught as a human race to make somebody else feel bad so that you can feel good. And we've got to stop those things. Absolutely have to stop those things.
It's a marvelous thing to take a human being, any human being, and bring up and embrace and clarify and praise their better qualities. And
Absolutely.
everybody's got them. I don't care who you are, you've got them. You've got them. And when people are told from their earliest memory nothing except negativity, real or not, they can't grow with that.
They can't.
They can't grow with that. We all have within us the capacity to have a tantrum and get upset and cry and do what we shouldn't do when we're under frustration. We don't need to make that our badge and our hallmark and our name. We need to,
Absolutely not.
if we do, it'll happen more often.
This
We
is
need to
this is
realize that's a problem. It's not the real you. Let's find the real you and get rid of it.
In my own daughter's case, I would say that she was stunningly gorgeous. Actually, what I used to tell people is that my mother could walk into a room and take everybody's breath away, but unfortunately, my mother was kind of maleficent, so she could literally take everybody's breath away. So, and my daughter, I like to tell this story, and my daughter is this stunningly beautiful girl, just stunningly beautiful girl. And I'd say, yeah, it skipped a generation. I don't say that anymore, but I would say that. And then I would say, like, my daughter is the only woman that I know who can go into her closet and pull out anything and put it on. She can put on a paper bag and look good. She can do things with her hair that are just amazing. And I can't do a lot of things with my hair. It's straight and it's long. That's it. So, and my daughter has just heard me say that she's stupid or she's fat. And I'm like, how did you hear that? How did you hear what I just, you're talented, but sadly, people, with me, I was told I'd be really pretty if. So pretty was an extremely abusive word for me. I was talking to a gentleman earlier today that I said inappropriate, and inappropriate is a common term for me, which just means that something isn't quite right. But he took offense to that. So you get taught that this word means this in your own diction and language. So sadly, we need to watch that, and we need to educate the children that that might not be what it is. I always used to tell my own kids that if you're taught that the color blue is orange, that the sky is orange as a child, you're not going to know any different. I didn't know any different until a few years ago. I didn't know I was smart until 2002, and now I'm being told that I'm brilliant, which I like a lot better. So, once we can really change the way that that is, then we can really empower and break the cycles of abuse. It's much nicer to have somebody say something good about you than something bad about you.
I liked your analogy to orange and blue, because
Oh.
if we're little kids and we have been taught to look at the world through dirty gray glasses, then we're going to see the world through dirty gray glasses, whether it's that way or not, because we've been taught to interpret it. And like you said, you take in an analogy that nobody said. You personalize what somebody else did or said. What a person says tells you more about them than it does about you.
Absolutely.
But if you're insecure, you don't know that.
I know. And in my case, being illegally adopted and being raised as white and, finding my real father and through all of that stuff and now being recognized by the tribe, which was just so empowering for me, makes me not crazy. It makes me know that I am who I am, and now I can be me. Tribe actually wasn't blood, believe it or not. Native American was community. If somebody was left on the plains, they would be taken into the tribe and become part of the tribe. So this mentality that tribe is blood and all this other stuff is really a fallacy. You are who you are. You are a product of the environment around you, but sometimes you have to overcome that. I talk about the cycles of abuse. When a parent says something negative to a child, it's generally something they have learned. They heard it as a child, well, this is what I did, this is what my parents taught me, so I'm going to teach you the same thing, and then the same thing, and then the same thing. We need to stop that. We need to empower each other as the human race, and then share the resources and lift the whole planet up. In my case, being raised in such terrible abuse, I basically didn't want to do anything that they did. And I tried very hard to do the exact opposite. But I had no parenting skills. So I had to do things very bizarre, and I came up with some pretty darn creative parenting ideas. My daughter slammed the door. I told her if she didn't stop, I was taking the door off the hinges. She had a place to change, so it wasn't abusive. But I let her earn her door back, but there was one of those things that I came up with. So, you get creative, and you kind of have to, especially in my case. Shoot, I was doing this all on my own, and I'm not talking about like, oh, you were on your own. I did it on my own in hiding. I couldn't let anybody know who we were connected to, or anything else. So they're adults now. They're 23 and 21 years old. They're both doing absolutely amazing. My daughter, I couldn't be prouder of her. She's graduating college at 21. She's very, very, very bright girl, very gorgeous, very talented, amazing person. My son, he's doing very, very well as well. He's become an RN now, and he's very happy in his relationship, and we're hoping that they're going to deal with some of the, sadly, because of the childhood trauma that they went through. They were only 4 and 6 years old when we went into hiding. So a lot of things they think I did to them, not for them, but one day they'll learn me as the person that I am, I'm hopeful, and not the person that they think that I am. So, that's one of the things, but, they're 21 and 23 years old. I don't care if I was Mother Teresa, they probably wouldn't like me anyway. So, but that's, again, something that's learned. Children learn to separate from their parents. They don't necessarily have to do that. We can teach them that it's okay to stay together as a family and not have the inappropriate boundary issues. We can change the relationship from parent to child to friends to caregivers as they get older. You know, it's very easy to do. It used to always be done in the tribe.
One of the things that helps parents when we get a little older is to realize that it's instinct for the young of almost every species, but especially human beings, to need totally their mother. So if anything goes wrong in their youth, it must be their mother's fault. And the mothers don't have a perfect world to give the child anyway, but the
No,
child's angry
sadly.
because the world wasn't perfect until they mature enough to realize that mothers are human beings struggling to stay alive, struggling for safety, struggling for the same security they want to give their children. They don't necessarily have it to give. And when they mature enough to see that, they can reach back and embrace their mothers. But I think it's a phenomenon that just goes with immaturity, and it takes a little maturity to look back and realize mothers weren't born into a perfect world either. They can give you what they have at the time and no more. That's it.
Absolutely. The other thing that happens is like in a girl's world, um, she pulls away from her mother so that she can go set up her own house,
Right,
so that she can learn who she is,
right.
and then step back into her mother's world. So she has to make it on her own. You know, she has to do that. That usually happens right about, 17, 18 years old. Um, and also there's the hormonal thing that girls go through that, a lot of people don't even talk, they didn't talk about these things, they just didn't. The reason I was one of the lost children was because of the fact that my mother was going through a major postpartum. They didn't talk about that back then. My dad, he couldn't hold, people don't even realize the oppression of the Native American was my dad's generation. He
Right.
couldn't hold a job. He
Wow.
wasn't allowed to sing songs. He wasn't allowed to even buy tobacco. So that isn't all that far back. And
No.
when we come back together and we realize, wait a minute. Now, one of the things that I'm just learning that has sadly been lost is the powerful female role model. Princess Diana was basically our last one. We used to have people like Jacqueline Kennedy and we had those powerful women who were making change. What I'm learning and understanding this is women learn that from other women, and we don't interact that way. That's got to absolutely change. Women need to learn from other women, and men need to learn from other men how to be that type of person, how
Right.
how to how to do just the basics of treating each other with respect. I have a dear friend that says that everybody needs to be a shiny penny, and I'm like, wow, that's a great way to explain that. So when you feel that, when you feel like, wait a minute, there's the way that, and everybody can tap into this. Everybody can think about that one moment where you looked in the mirror and you went, I look good today. This looks good on me, and you walk out the door. You have a different way of standing. You have a different way of presenting yourself. You may give another smile to somebody that you didn't smile at before. And that's contagious. That can absolutely change the world, those random acts of kindness. Now, we'll go back to barter for a second. Those random acts of kindness, they become very easy. Your bank attendant, she just chipped her nail. You could absolutely give her a gift certificate to get her nails done. Guess how you paid for that? So, it's very, very simple to treat each other the way that we would or should if we didn't worry about what the economy is doing.
That's true. That's
That's
that's true. And if we started to see each other's strengths and
absolutely.
recognize them as being different than our own and wonderful. I was once told that if two people are exactly alike, one of them's unnecessary. We need to uphold and enjoy the beautiful differences in each other. It makes our world wonderful.
Well, we all have our parts and our pieces to do. And because of that, and I'll go back to the tribe. In the tribe, there were no small jobs. It wasn't, oh, I'm the chief or I'm the shaman or I have to go get the water or I'm the best hunter. They were all equally important. They all had to be done. And it didn't matter if I had to go get the water and you were supposed to get the wood and you couldn't get the wood. It wasn't, oh, well, I don't care. I'm not doing it because it needed to be done. I would just do it. I would do it for you and know that you would do something for me later on. I didn't worry about it. So when you get into that mindset of, well, we all need to do this. If you were going camping, you all need to do all of the jobs. It isn't somebody can do one thing and, oh, if that doesn't get done, if he's not going to do it, it's not going to get done. That's silly. We all need to work together.
I am a member of Backcountry Horsemen, okay?
Oh, geez, I
And
love that group.
I think one of the greatest way to teach anybody anything is get your mules and your horses and go
Oh,
into the
absolutely.
high rugged mountains up to the snow line. And it's summer here, it's not there, and everybody has to play their part. They absolutely don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
It's school, and you learn. You have
learn quick,
no
too.
choice. You know, nobody's going to go fetch up your mule for you if you ran off. They may help you, but if you haven't been helping them, they won't.
Absolutely.
They'll respond the same way you did.
Absolutely.
And it's a magnificent, magnificent way to teach people.
Actually, because of the linking the nonprofits together, creating the centralized database, I had somebody say to me, well, you don't want to do like the national forests and stuff like that. That's not important. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's absolutely important. For me, being in the woods is like for somebody else going to church. I mean, it's that empowering.
Me too.
So we're going to have to go camping.
When I'm in nature, that's
Absolutely.
where I find sanctity.
Some people get it walking on the beach. Some people get it in nature. Some people get it from community of church or whatever. But it doesn't matter where you get it from. Everybody needs the same basic things. They need that, you know, and some people get it through meditation. I meditate all the time. I meditate differently. So, you know, I don't have to sit there in a room full of people and have the music going and stuff like that. I could actually just go, okay, I'm done. And I can meditate that quickly and get the answers and stuff. But, you know, everybody has their own way, and it's not right and it's not wrong. That's the main thing that people have to know. And one of the things I teach in the shamanism is it's all about intent. You know, I say God, you can put whatever word you want there, but, you know, Buddhist smudge, Catholic smudge, Native smudge, Tibetan smudge, they all use the same thing. And absolutely, my God is not bigger than your God. That is the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. We all need to work together. It doesn't mean that a Tide is bad because it's a different kind of detergent than what you grew up with. You know, it doesn't matter if you use, you know, whatever laundry soap you use. There's a reason there's different brands because you might like one better than another. It might work in your area better than another or whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. It's not mine is better, yours is worse. You've got to do it my way. That's absolutely the silliest thing I've ever heard.
It's our differences that cause us to come together and create bridges and grow.
Absolutely.
Not our similarities, our differences. To unite and build a better and bigger world because of a different point of view is one of the greatest strengths that human beings will ever have.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Or as I say, ho. So, you know, it's just, everything is, you know, we have all the things here. We just need to utilize them. We need to connect everybody. You know, maybe I don't have time to work with somebody, but they can work with somebody else. You know, it's not about any of that. People just have to get over it and realize, you know, we just need to work together.
Yes, we do.
You know, we just absolutely do. And that's
respect each other for who we are, not who we want them to be.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, that's it right there. That, you know, I used to tell my kids all the time, like I homeschooled my kids, kind of had to, we were hiding. But when I was homeschooling my kids, I would tell them there's two main things that are very important. You must treat others the way that you want to be treated, not the way that you treat yourself, but the way you want to be treated. And everybody knows that one. And do as you say you're going to do. And I mean, it's so simple, so simple. But if everybody did that, imagine how different the world would be. You know, I mean, so simple. I think that's even written in the Bible.
If you do as you say that you're going to do, then that's when the quality comes of banking on your word.
Absolutely.
Knowing you can believe and trust in one another, you can depend on one another. When a person tells you one thing and does another, they really betray themselves because nobody believes in them anymore.
Right. And I mean, I'm one of those people that if I tell you that I'm going to carry my car, I use this example. If I tell you I'm going to carry my car around the block, then my intent is to carry the car around the block. And I might realize, wait a minute, I can't do that. That's kind of heavy. And, and I'll have to come to you and say, well, I was planning on it. I thought I was going to have some help, but it didn't work out that way. So I can't do that. So as long as you explain it, but you just have to be honest.
Right.
You just have to be honest. It's okay to say, I fully intended to, but I couldn't, you know. We have to do that with children. We have to say, well, I fully intended to take you to the park today, but I can't because it's pouring down rain. So we'll go to the park another day, but let's do something else today. So you have to do that as an adult as well. But most people, they get scared. They get into the mentality of fear, and they just don't want to say, well, I made a mistake, or I was wrong, or I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. And then it just causes all kinds of trouble.
I
You know,
think
if I,
the problem involved with so many young people, and of course this carries over when they get older if they don't mature out of it or learn better. But the point is that they start believing if they make a mistake that they are a mistake. There is
absolutely,
no line drawn between the individual and the error. You know, it becomes you're ignorant, you're stupid, you're evil, you're bad, not I made a stupid mistake.
absolutely.
And this is something we really need to help other people and ourselves overcome, because this is so hurtful.
Well, and it gets again into that mentality, the cycle of abuse. You know, if you tell the child, you know, okay, well, you spilled, let's just clean it up. But my son was learning to drive, and he got stuck on this back road, and these two people wouldn't get out of his way, and so he had to back up, and he had just failed his driver's license, passing the driver's test because he didn't look over his shoulder. So he didn't look over his shoulder, and he backed into the guardrail, and his face, you know, that you wait right here, don't move. And he gets out of the car and he goes over and he looks, and the other guys go around him and stuff like that. They're not going to wait to see if they can help us. Of course, you know, they're thinking I'm going to be ranting and raving and everything else. And he's sitting there and he comes back to the car. And he goes, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I said, well, are you okay? He says, yeah. And I said, well, why don't you get back in the car and sit down? He got back in the car and sat down. And I handed him the keys, and he's like, you're going to still let me drive? I'm like, did you learn your lesson? He goes, yeah. I said, well, then fine. I don't care. It's just a car. I mean, big deal. You know, it can be fixed. Why stress over it? You know, there are things to lose your temper over. I mean, recently there's, you know, the whole rioting thing, and the mother that beat the crap out of her son on national television.
Yeah.
But sadly, we teach that as you know, we do that with children. The first time you're spanking a child, the first time you grab them and do that, it's because you're afraid that they're going to get hurt. They're running around and you chase them and you grab them, and the instinct, because of what you were taught as a child, is to smack them. You know, hold still. You're going to get hurt. You're going to run in the street and get hit by a car. And that's fear. We need to overcome that. We need to learn to, you know, in the Toltec, it teaches a different way to handle that. It teaches that, you know, that's when a child learns that love can be painful. My parents love me so much that they're willing to hurt me. And that's wrong. We need to not get into that. We need to get into the empowering them, explaining. And I'm not saying that, you know, if they do something that they shouldn't be punished, but there's many different ways to do that. Many, many different ways to do that.
If we can teach them to suffer the consequences of their own behavior, it's a better punishment.
Absolutely. Absolutely better punishment. And we need to empower parents to be parents. You know, it's swung the opposite direction, where, you know, parents can be punished for being parents. And I'm not talking about giving them a swat in the grocery store. I'm talking about the woman who, she washed her daughter's mouth out with soap, which happened to most of us as children. And because her daughter was throwing up, she took her daughter to the hospital because she was being a good mother. She thought that she had made her daughter sick. And automatically she went to jail, and the daughter went into foster care.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's how far it has swung in the opposite direction. So, you know, we have to empower the parents to be parents, but we have to also support. It takes a village to raise a child, but we need to come together as adults. We need to empower everyone to learn a different way.
When we're children, we are taught accidentally or otherwise, to see the world in such and such a way. I love Red Paperclip because you are saying the world is a tribe. Let us see the world in unity. Let us see our qualities in unity. Let us reach out and help one another as brothers and sisters should, as a tribe and a family should. That analogy is so powerful. And I want to thank you for that great presentation. It's really been a pleasure to have you on the show. It's been a pleasure to open people's eyes and make them realize, I don't care what label you hang onto it, we're all members of the human race, the same
Absolutely.
tribe.
The same tribe. Absolutely. My nonprofit's motto is the strength of my resolve and my drive to make the change are directly proportionate to my absolute moral outrage that these situations even exist. So if you think about it, if we start treating others the way that we want to be treated, if we start working together and sharing resources and all of those things, ending the cycles of abuse, you know, we can absolutely do that in one generation. We can also fix the global economy. I can literally do that in 48 hours. It's that simple. And all we need to do is come together as a tribe and it'll be done. You know, it'll just be done. So that's one of the things I'm teaching the metaphysical and the healers is that if we all work on one project, it'll be done. So, and it's, I mean, it again, my God's not bigger than your God. It says the same thing in the Bible. If 3 people come together in my name and say a prayer over something, then it has to happen. So we just need to work together. We don't need to get into the woe is me and the earth is bad and nothing's ever going to change. It's that mentality that is sadly been moving things the way that they are. When there's more people that say, wait a minute, we need to work together. We can make the change. We can make a difference. That's when things happen.
You're absolutely correct. And you're proof that it is happening. Thank you so much, Anna, for this wonderful interview. I deeply appreciate it.
Oh, I deeply appreciate you sharing our message, our purpose, and our passion.